Let's begin. This is the auspicious beginning to the 9th Kesh Health Teaching Workshop. And in this workshop, we'll be talking about the relationship between the thymus and the lymph. And Dr. Elia Kostova will introduce us to those organs and aspects of the body. And Mr. Kesh will talk about those structures in relationship to the heart and other feeling part of the brain and whatnot in the second part of the show. So let's get right into it with Dr. Elia Kostova at the Spaceship Institute, who will introduce today's topic. Elia, are you there?
Hello, everybody. It's me, Elia. Nice to be with you and the Ninth Health Workshop of Keshe Foundation. Today, subject is structure and organization of the lymph system, thymus, and the explanation of a MAGRaph view of this system and the role of thymus in plasma technology. So we started with the first slide, which is actually remembering for you from the previous workshop about the bone marrow structure. So the bone marrow structure started from one stem cell, and that stem cell divided to two orders of myeloid stem cell and lymphoid stem cell. And all the immune systems come from lymphoid stem cell. In the next slide, again, I want to remember you that lymphoid order for this workshop will be speak only for lymphoid order, derived to two more orders of B and T cells. When stem cell reach the state of maturity, goes in blood, and then reach lymph nodes or thymus or other lymph organs through the lymph. So next slide 6 actually gives you a lymph system. How you see it looks like a net. It's completely similar like a circulatory system and nerve system. They have completely same view. Reach every cells on your body. So the lymph system, okay, now it's visible for you. The lymph systems goes with company with circulatory system and nerve system. They go all together, and how I say, they reach each part, each cells of your body. Then the next slide, number 7, it's visible for you the lymphoid organs. Lymphoid organs, they are your tonsils, and that picture is showing you only in your mouth. It is pharyngeal tonsils, but actually you have 5 levels of organization of your tonsils. The first one started in your nose area, then is pharyngeal tonsils. You have the lymph organization of the lymph nodes inside in the hilus of lung. It is the in mediastinum of your chest area. Then you have organization of the lymph packages inside of your abdomen and all the lymph nodes inside of intestines. It's actually 5 levels of tonsils. And the tonsils or the big lymphatic nodes, they are on the place where you have entrance in your body, because their function is to recognize the foreigner particles and the foreigner substance where they come from environment through your food or liquid what you use or air what you breathe, and they go inside in your body. So the function is to recognize the particles. Which one particle come inside of your body, and it is similar, is useful, or or this particle material will be go damage the body. So they are like information center for your body. They inform the body what is come in body. And then that information goes to the bone marrow, and bone marrow produce amount of Ben lymphocytes, like stem cells, and then the stem cells mature and thymus, and from thymus they get differentiation, and then they go to the lymphatic nodes, and against the foreign particles, microbes, viruses, fungi, or different kind of materials. Then the next slide, you are able to see the structure of the lymph system. It's actually the lymph vessels, they are like tubes. And during that tubes, you have lymph nodes. This is the slide number 8 on your left side of the slide. They're actually like a highways of the lymph. And through that highways, you have some kind, if we may compare like a petrol station, you just slow down the flow of lymph, they get informed in the lymph nodes, and then information goes through lymph again to the next station, next lymph nodes or packages of the lymph nodes. This is the organization of the lymph system through all your body. On the right side, you see the structure of the lymph node. Actually, like a shape, if you know other shapes of the organs, is so similar to a kidney. And organization inside is also similar to the kidney organization. You have outer part, this is the cortex of lymph node, inner part medulla, and helix, which is the soft part actually on that picture is like a bottom, and then from that part start the lymph node. Okay, start the lymph vessel. Several vessels come inside. We call that afferent vessels. They carry the lymph through the lymph node, and afferent vessels take the lymph out of the lymph node. And vessels have inside some kind of valve, and that valve just pumping the lymph. And the lymph vessels, because of the contraction of the muscles and the action of these valves, they are able to carry and to make a flow of lymph. Actually, lymph formed from the epithelium of materials from the artery and venous capillary system and the materials from the cells. They suck per the epithelium and the lymph system. We call that process osmosis. Through osmosis, osmotic gradient of material from one side of the membrane of the lymph vessel and in other side. It depends of gradient of some particle, for example, potassium or sodium, and depends of that gradient, the material go in or out. Then the next slide, you are able to see again cavity in our body. Regarding plasma technology, it's important for you to know, and we said in the previous workshop, that we have 3 formation of the reactors in our body. So we start with top. This is the cranial cavity. Then we go in chest area. We have cavity of right lung, left lung, chest, and mediastinum. In mediastinum is placed thymus. You may see on the right side of the picture is outside view of mediastinum. Is look like a cave, like a hole. And we may separate mediastinum of upper and down place. And actually for us, thymus in on top of mediastinum. If you remember the picture with the star formation of reactors, what Armen made with small reactors, so we placed 4 of them on the table. So for us, that superface is our diaphragm, and we place the 3 reactors, left, right lung, and our heart. Top reactor is our brain, cranium cavity. They interact and make a interaction flow between them, and actually that flow we measure with the BZ from the measurement instrument, and in the middle of this BZ line for us is place of thymus. We say that in previous workshop. I just want to remember you to not forget. So actually for us, the conversion point where all the torus of the cranium cavity, left, right lung, and heart, they just cross to each other and make common point is our thymus. That's why regarding plasma technology, thymus is converter of Markov packages. Okay. And then we go to the next slide. In next slide, it's important to make a comparison between the shape of brain, shape of lung, shape of heart, and shape of thymus. How you see, all of them, they contains 2 parts, left and right. And they are so similar in their shapes, especially brain and thymus and lung. Also in heart we have left and right side, and left and right side have different kind of functionality. One side carry the non-oxygenated blood, another one left side carry the oxygenated blood. It's important to know and to remember again regarding plasma technology. Thymus, like lung, have a left lobe, right lobe, apex, and base. It's the same organization. Also, if you cut inside the thymus, you may see the structure so close to the structure of brain. Lung also have a closer structure to brain if you make a cross section of these 3 organs. Okay, next picture, next slide is to show you what is the structure inside of the thymus. It is so equal to the structure of lymph node because actually main function is to organize the immunity to defense system of your body. Defense system of your body is your immune system. And the base of immune system is lymphatic organs, what I told you, and the lymph like a liquid, like a transport system. Okay, so the thymus, we said, have 2 lobes, left, right. The cross section of the thymus, you see, have a capsula, outer side, and cortex, inner side. Actually, on the right side of the picture, you see stem cells progenitor cells from the bone marrow, mature in some stage and go inside of the blood through the circulatory system, reach a thymus. In thymus starts maturation of the cells, and they differentiate to the B and T. B stored in the outer part of the thymus, T stored in inner part of the thymus. In places what in Latin language we call sinuses. This is the storage place. The same is organization if in the lymph node. Have a place to storage the B lymphocyte and place to storage the T lymphocytes. And it's important that from the thymus you have differentiated lymphocytes, which we call it thymocytes. They go again in the circulatory transporting system, and then they reach spleen or lymph node. When they reach the lymph node, in the lymph node we already have information what kind of substance come in our body. It's apple, or it's virus, or it's coffee, or whatever. And then T lymphocytes, they are divided to different kind of branches regarding their function. So we have T memory, T cells memory. They remember if some material comes inside of our body. The first meeting is with T lymphocytes, which have information function. They inform others what is the structure of this material. And then T memory is like RAM memory in the computers. They keep that memory of that substance through all your life. There they store information. I met that material, I know the structure of that material, and then they inform T lymphocytes, we call T killers. So they start to produce some kind of receptors of them superphase, and they go to that materials with that receptors, they catch it, and they start to activation of the immune system. So actually, B and T lymphocytes, they are soldiers of our defense system. They inform the body what kind of materials come in and how the body is supposed to defend itself. And regarding the plasma technology, we say that the thymus, because of interaction of the B12, which is contained cobalt, are able to mature the progenitor lymphocytes to the mature state, to develop state of them evolution, and then there are different size and different kind of functions, and how we say like order of T memory, T killers, T information, and T lymphocyte, which we call helpers. Okay. So that is important just to keep in mind that the thymus is actually progenitor of our defense system because transform the packages. And in the anatomical language, he transform and mature the functions of lymphocytes. And then these mature lymphocytes will already get the function, go through circulatory system to each cell, and start to defend a body. Have a lot of other sub-branches of our immune system, but I will not speak on that workshop about them. Just we will close to that point about defense system of our body, like a lymphatic system, lymphatic organs, but just to know we have other systems for defense, which is part of our immune system. It's not only lymphatic. Okay. From anatomically point of view, it's that from my side. If you have some questions, please ask me.
I don't have any questions as of here. Does anybody else have any questions on the Skype call?
Yeah, and also I just wanted to ask and to announce that in Spaceship Institute and a lot of followers, we know different kind of languages. Actually, if we start to calculate how many languages we know, we are able to answer in different languages. And because I have emails in the Health Kiev regarding that, the workshop is mostly in English and the speaker is English. And please, I just want to inform you that if you want to ask a questions, doesn't matter which one language you use, have people which listen to workshops, they are in the GoToMeeting, they are in Skype talks. If we don't know your language, have people around who knows your language. They're able to speak through the Skype calls during the live sessions and will answer you. Just language is not the barrier for communication. And also, I just want to ask if patients listen to the health workshop, just feel free to ask what you want to know to make a point in which way you need to explain you. Because up to the moment during the health workshop, we speak more and just want to make a point between the plasma technology and the human body in more technician view. But if you want to know something more from the point of some disease or because you just suffer from that disease and you see some relation between the subject of the workshop and your state, it's no problem just to write on typo of the live stream or to be in the call of GoToMeeting. Just keep in mind the language is not the barrier for our communication. Thank you.
Well,
if you have some questions.
Perhaps just a thought here. You might have a comment. Hi, this is Dan Winter. We spent a lot of time doing harmonic analysis of the heart's EKG, and famously, heart coherence and emotion is what we studied. And famously, the reason the thymus was a catcher's mitt around the heart was because that's where the coherent phonon of the EKG was transliterated into the immune function. So the way the thymus picks up the phonon sound coherence is very much to do with its way of making immune health and white blood cells, I would assume.
Is it a question or just explanation? You muted or no? Can you hear us?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't understand that was a question or some kind of explanation because the sound through the speakers is not so clear.
It was just that the heart sounds theoretically are translated into immune health inside the thymus, according to the studies we did. I appreciate your comment. The way that the phonon, the sound geometry, for example, phonon coherence is how plasmas are concentrated. So the sound geometry hitting the thymus is very much to do with the way it's crafting white blood cells, for example.
Yeah,
Yes,
and also Yeah, the sound of the heart and the magra field of the heart is connected with the magra field of the brain. And actually how even Mr. Cash mentioned it in the previous workshop, the development of the human embryo in the womb, it depends of the heartbeat of the mother.
Yeah. And famously, we
So,
were taught that when the Christians thump their breast, mea culpa, I take responsibility for, is because the sound enters the thymus, and that's how you take responsibility.
yeah, of course, because this is the wives and they are interact. So the sound is some matter view of the packages, Mangrove
Yeah.
packages. Do you
Yeah.
understand?
And the
So
way we,
we just is something what we catch. We are sensor organ ears. If the information after the sounds get more condensed, so then we are able to see that energy like a color. If they are go in the next stage more condensed, become a matter what we are able to touch.
and
So
that, so
sound, color, and matter is just different kind of condensity and and compression of energy fields.
it's fun to think about heart coherence, sound coherence, and how that condenses the plasma in the thymuses. So I appreciate. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. So I give the microphone to Mr. Cash. Thank you from my side.
Thank you, Ilya.
I just want to say something briefly in between here, which is it occurred to me that when we say, I feel something in my heart, when people say that, they probably actually mean they feel it in their thymus. Would that not be true?
Not really, because the feeling comes through the heart. Because heart is a magnetic field, it's like a receiver. So that's what you do. I'll explain this hopefully in
Mr.
time
Kesh, you
being.
got a little bit of a low voice there on your side. Can you adjust the microphone, please?
Is this better now? I've been told I'm speaking too fast. I better slow down and speak very slow. But when I speak slow, I forget what I was going to say. So which one are we going to do? Slow or forget? In a minute. Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. As we see now, this teaching sessions are becoming everyday occurrence for the foundation under different name and banners. This next step in respect to thymus and the lymph, this is the last part, I think, if Dr. Elia does not go further, which connects the emotional and the physical part together. What has to do with the emotional part, which is important for emotional part for its existence and control, sits in the upper chest cavity, where the heart, the thymus, and the lungs are. And if you look at the structure of all these four entities, plus the brain itself, which included the central core, which is the thalamus, all have two sections, left and right, as was mentioned by Dr. Elia. So, when we finish with this section, we finish with the control system of the physical, emotional, in conjunction with each other. But why do we need a system like thymus in where it is? This goes back the way the human body was structured and how we have evolved. If you go back to the section where we spoke about the heart, I explained that the heart, the four chambers of the heart, each one is responsible for one system, where in the past we used to have 4 motors, now we have 1 motor, but is a combination motor. Part of the 4 cylinders, 1 is responsible for the thymus, or what we call the immune system, and 1 is responsible for the lymph, which is the feeding system. Then, if you look at the structure of the lymph and thymus, you'll find out they are exactly copy of each other in working in what Dr. Elias said about maturity. The T cells mature, and then with the lymphs, they do the same too. That is to say, these 2 stations are built to do one thing: to bring the immune system and to bring the feed system to the level which is needed by the body and by the what we call the emotional part in respect controlling the physical part. And so what happens, the bone marrow is created at a constant level of size and energy, and in reality what we see in the future as the man progresses, and we already seen some signs of it, thymus will disappear from the human race, because it has become as part of the process where now with a control through parathyroid glands, the function of thymus will refer and will go back into the bone marrow. What it means, you don't need to do a job twice to create a bone marrow and then send it to a station to be strengthened in the thymus. What this means is that thymus, how can you strengthen something? How can you mature something? How can immune system come to the thymus and then mature? Maturity, as you call it, the immune system, it means having the strength to be able to dilute or open the plasma of whatever it could be they are built for it, or to make a part of the structure in the human body softer or harder. A strengthening of T cell, or what you call maturity of T cell, is not a wine cellar you leave your wine to mature. This is a constant flow of material from bone marrow into thymus. Sometimes the immune system bone marrow, which comes to take from the bone marrow itself to the thymus, can take up to 30 days, and in some rare cases up 60 days. But what happens? How does the lymph matures? The maturity, or getting the strength which is needed to be able to carry out a job according to what the physical part of the brain has sent the orders for, comes through one thing, and that's cobalt, that's B12. The same thing goes back for the lymph nodes. The lymph nodes, that's all they do. They mature, they strengthen. How can you strengthen something if you don't have it yourself? So the lymph nodes and the thymus are the home where the cobalt sits. And the maturity comes by absorbing gravitational magnetic fields from cobalt, not as a radiation, but as a plasmatic strength, given to the what you call a T cells or a storage of B cells, even while they are stored, B cells are getting energized, they're receiving fields. They can't sit there and don't absorb anything, even though they sit so much to so much energy from a cobalt. Then they find their way. The T cells find absorption of the plasmatic magnetic fields, and the B cells find orientation. It's very much, the T cells behave like a stronger punch, and the B cells, which are stored in thymus, change slight orientation, like becoming like a carbon, which change orientation makes it to diamond or graphite. Because the change of orientation is needed through B cells for neurosystem, in where they become conductive and resistive. And if you look in diseases like MS or ILS, or where they say that the myelin has disappeared, which is a nonsense, and we have explained this in other talks. So what happened, the graphite, or what they call carbon in the amino acid structure, changes orientation from a conductor to a resistor. So it changes the whole property of the amino acid to a conductor or a resistor. The change of conduction and resistance comes through B cells. So, in fact, if the scientist, world of medicine, looks into the structure of the B cells, they'll find out the only thing happens to them, they don't come and sit in thymus for nothing. It's not a holiday time. The C cell, the B cells come in to change orientation, and that's where the function comes in, changing the neurosystem energy levels to conductive and resistive. This is a shock news to a lot of people in the world of medicine, because they never understood. They always said the B cells, they come and they get stored in the lymph. The B cells come, and their orientation, of change of orientation for a neurosystem, allows you to be able to decide to go to sleep, decide the end of a nerve. Because if the B cell orientation is given to give orders and replace the nerves which are switched off back to switched on because of its orientation as a twinity, then it acts and does the nerve system. The B cells are responsible for the neurosystem, which are fed by the red blood cells, and is controlled totally their work by thalamus. And the immune system, which is the physicality part of the thymus work, is done through the T cells. So there is a clear indication why and how and why you have two. And then at the same time, the left thymus is responsible the same and controlled by the right side of the brain, and vice versa. The rest of the same as the rest of the working of the body of the man. So the process of understanding the work of the thymus is to decide how much energy is given to what we call immune system. And then again goes back to taxi destination. Then when the information goes to the brain in time of the change of the cell of a nail, time of the change and density of the one tissue of the heart, one has to be soft, one has to be hard, one has to be liquid, one has to be jelly. All these are decided by the T cells information and the amount of energy they receive when they go through the thymus. It's very simple. Always understand the process. If you give it too much energy, it liquidifies, it becomes softer. So the cell which is supposed to be for your, let's say, finger, receives the the skin or the tissue receives a slightly more energy than the tissue which is supposed to become your nail. So the density, the salinity, the whole structure of the tissue of the plasma of the body of the man is decided by the thymus according to amount of the B12 magnetic gravitational energy which is given to the what you call immune system. So when it arrives, as we said, the blood cells and the neurosystem decide, for example, you're going to have, let's say, zinc in this part of, let's say, an organ of the body. But this zinc, what structure would it have? Would it be liquid state? Would it be gas state? Would it be a hard state? Would it be solid? Would it behave like a jelly? Then that's decided by the information which is brought in by the T cells. And if it's not matching the information, then you find what is known as infections. And then the immune system has to increase the energy in the thymus, that the cells which are destined for that part of the body have to carry more energy to, for example, dilute and open up the infection, microbes or whatever they could be. Now, it is very simple. Those doctors who've been looking for a solution for MS, for ILS, look into the operation of the B cells. And then look at the strength of the B cells in respect to the thymus. You'll find your answer. You find why myelin changes from a conductor to a resistor. Because the B cells in thymus have been misinformed. They received not enough energy to change their orientation from one thing to another. Understand the structure of the conductivity of a carbon and the structure of the transition of the energy. If you orientate a graphite in a certain orientation, the graphite becomes conductive. You keep the same atomic structure, but you change the orientation in the way the information is carried between the electrons and protons, or in the case of the body of the man, the behavior of not being able to accept any more energy across the plasma of the amino acid, then you become ILS or MS or vice versa and other diseases. The world of science, the world of medicine has to realize something very simple. The world of creation is simpler and it's been made so complicated by the scientists for them to show clever. When you look at the B cells in thymus, what is a conductivity and what is the resistivity? What is what they call the change of orientation of the cell? Materials, entities within the body of a man behave as a plasma, as a GANs in the vacuum condition of the body of the man. So what happens? How can you not get in, or how can you not send the information? If it's too hard to understand how the orientation changes, go back to the space technology. If a meteorite comes in a wrong angle, it's still the same Earth, the same magnetic field, it bounces off the top layer of the atmosphere of the Earth and it goes up, so cannot penetrate. The Earth magnetic field for that meteorite is a resistor. At the same time, another meteorite in a different angle comes in and can penetrate the Earth, and we see it as shooting star. Even though that both meteorites could be coming from the same mother structure. So how much you give energy, it makes at a point of the B cell that when the cell arrives at the point of the neuro's destination of it, for the cell to be conductive or resistive, or give enough energy to become conductive or resistive. So if you can produce systems that can increase or decrease the power of certain cells in the B cell structure of the amino acids within the thymus, within the B cells, no man should suffer from MS or ALS. This is how we succeed with MS. One of the problems in Keshe Foundation is not affecting and controlling the B cells. We know exactly how to do it. It is the intention of the man who receives or puts himself or herself in condition to be sick, to demand attention, which through his thalamus gives the information. Even if you receive the information to become a conductive or resistive, I don't want to know. Gift, I don't want to receive. Because MS and ALS are psychosomatic. Why do you call it psychosomatic? Because psychologically you want to end the life, but you want to end the life with attention for what you missed in the beginning of the life. When you get paralyzed, you need attention. You are put on a chair. A lot of people don't understand the structure of it. But psychosomatic diseases, which is controlled by a thalamus emotionally, and then physically delivered by B cells, are controlled by the man who is sick or the woman who is sick. It's very, very rare, some of the MSs and RLSs and diseases like this, which are created naturally. So now you have produced the material, you have dictated what it's going to be and where it's going to be, from the physical part, which is the T cells, and for the emotional side or the neural system, which is the B cells. Now, if you look at the structure of the thymus, is of a smooth tissues. The same is with the lymph. Lymph nodes are the same. Lymph nodes are bank of B12s. These are the kitchens with a knife, as I always explained. So when the lymph node receives the food, it decides how much energy is going to give to it, which is needed by which cell where. A cell on a bone, on the tip of your nail, or just about before it comes out of the skin, does not need that much energy. Then the hand, which is continuously a muscle, is moving, that you pick and you drop. Or it has to have the strength to stand burning and the heat. So the lymph node decides how much energy I'm going to give to it, or take from what is arrived here as lymph, that when it arrives in the destination point, it transfers the energy to the cell, that cell of the energy of the cell decides how the cell is going to be. Hard, soft, heat resistance, not much heat. So now you understand the connection between the immune system, what you call the bone marrow, or whatever name has been created for it. And from what I see from the data and the research in the past times, there is a very clear indication. The body is finding, as very much like your appendix, thymus as a useless part of the life or need. Because this process of thymus changing, the strength can be done in the bone marrow itself. You don't need to drag it out and then do it. And then at the same time, this can be added to save energy and operation of the body to one chamber in the heart, which means one chamber less, more preservation of energy, one organ less, and then you see it like, what do you call it, tensils and the appendix, we don't need it. And if you ask a lot of doctors who done operation and they do a lot of things with the thymus and the cancer of thymus, they tell you the operation changes on the strength as you get older, but some people say it doesn't exist, it doesn't happen. But if at the latter part of the life, thymus becomes less relative because the bone marrow structure has already settled and bone marrow is created at a constant strength, because you don't have that much energy to use it, you don't need that much to it, and because of that you die of easier infections, much simpler infections, then this is an indication body is slowing, organizing itself in a more efficient way how to get rid of thymus from the beginning. And then if there is no need for the production and suction of the what you call the immune system from the bone marrow, then it shows very soon the chamber which was adopted and built for it, there'll be no need for it as well. So this is part of the evolution which we see, which is coming. So the thymus is a factory. And the other point is when the thymus gives all this energy as a B12 energy, as a plasmatic gravitational magnetic field of the cobalt to the T cells or B cells to change their rotation or increase the strength of their plasma, then the cobalt becomes weak because it has certain amount of radiation it can give. And because of the flow of the immune system of the T cells and B cells is so rapid, the what you call the cobalt energy gets absorbed, extracted very quickly, and the body has to send it for recharge. And then you find out that in the process of the recharge, as the what you call B12 cells, or what we call a cobalt, is getting transferred to be rejected from the body through the motion of the intestine, then as it's going through to be rejected, as it goes through a certain position in your long intestine to go through the big intestine, as this cobalt was giving its energy to the T cells and B cells to energize them or change orientation of them, now in the process of going through the intestines to be rejected from the body, it still is active. So it starts gathering all the energies which body has not used or is surplus back to itself. So by the time the B12 from the thymus or the lymph is rejected from the body of the man, is already has charged itself to the full value to go back in again. Because the body has made a very efficient move. It knows how much energy from the food which has been eaten or been brought in is surplus, but is in different fields which it cannot cross the intestine, and it's still sitting within the structure of the food. Because when you eat, let's say, a carrot, there is some cobalt in it. Some gets absorbed or transferred, but there are some other radioactive materials which your body doesn't need. But while they are going through your intestine, at certain point, which I've discussed this in other teachings, up to a point in your intestine, the body absorbs energy equal to cobalt. Because cobalt releases gamma radiation, which is very gamma radiation in a plasma level, not radiation as is assumed as a ray. So up to that point is a body absorbs the fields because it needs it for what is going to be destined to be the cobalt in the thymus and in lymph. And then when the material passes this point. It's like a X-ray machine. It's like when you go through a control system. When you pass it, the gate opens and closes. It's a very micro, what do you call it, gap within the intestine. On this side of the gap, the body absorbs energy of the cobalt gravitational magnetic field, and immediately on the other side of this line, the body rejects it. So whatever the body does not need comes as a cobalt from thymus and lymph on this side of the line to be rejected, because the knife is not sharp, the cobalt is not strong enough to charge the T cells and orientate the B cells. So when it enters at this point, then as the cobalt is going through the intestine to be rejected from the body, as being radioactive, it starts receiving energy, collecting whatever was left over in the body. And then when you go to the big toilet, you reject it and it goes out. And this is what I explained in other teachings about the eating of B12 with the vegetarians. You're a vegetarian in Africa because you don't have meat. You live a healthy, perfect life because there is no hygienes. You use human excrement for fertilizer or whatever, so you eat back your charged cobalt. In the modern world, in the West, people become vegetarian. They wash their hands when they go to toilet, and they wash their hands 3 times before they get through the front door. So there is no cobalt coming back in. And that's why we see huge B12 deficiency in people with vegetarian habit, or the ones who want to become vegetarian in the first or second cycle of life. So now it goes back to why and how the connection of the thymus comes with the lymph. And this is one of my biggest problems with a lot of doctors, because they don't understand the operation of the lymph and in conjunction with thymus. Thymus on the T cells and on the B cells. Cells sends the information for the neural system of an organ and for the physical part of an organ. When it comes to the lymph, and you as doctors, as surgeons, you are very quick in taking lymph nodes out, the information through B cells arrives through the neural system. But the information, the other half, which is to the physical part, now you've taken the lymph out, does not arrive. Because the information, the lymph node is not there. So the body looks for a similar position to be able to compensate for the loss of a kitchen. Then the body has to send orders to nearest lymph, which is matching the lymph of the part is being lost, to support the rest of the material and tissues on the other side of the body. So what happens? The information and the physical structure, which does not exist anymore, has to find a matching area what to be and how to be. And if a cancer cell exists within the area, so what it does, it considers a cancer cell as a normal cell because it wasn't do, it's a foreigner, it's just coming, it has to look after it, it's not his job. So you find, once you remove the kitchen, the lymph nodes, you transfer cancer across the body of the man. Because the cancer, which is sits as one even cell, it exists, I'm not used to it, but I have to feed it. So the nearest lymph on the other side feeds it. Because this was there, it was the lymph node was doing it, knows what it is, so I feed it. So now by removing a lymph node, you're feeding the cancer. And that's how the cancer spreads. And I always say to the doctors, hell breaks loose, do not touch a lymph. You say a lymph is full of cancer, go to thymus, find how you can increase the capacity and the power of the thymus as a cobalt level. Then you find out you don't find any cells, cancer cells in the lymph. Because the solidification, a cancer, when it becomes a cancer, it has changed its characteristics to, and becomes solidified in a different temperature, as you call it in the physics side. Now, that leads to circulation. Do not remove a cancer from a lymph. Look in the operation of thymus on a T cells, because it's the T cell which decides what solidifies in the lymph, not the lymph. And if an information has come in through whatever reasons, change of the nerve system, blood flow, which set up the structure of the solidity of the material, your cancer has its source in thymus. By increasing the immune system, you will not help it. Because when it comes to thymus, all the immune system, all the, what do you call it, the bone marrow comes out more or less at the same level. When it comes to thymus, which it changes. 0 passenger, taxi destination. So all the bone marrows which come in as an immune system, they know where they are going to go due to the gravitational magnetic field strength and the way they've been built. But all they do, they come to be charged in what is needed at the point when they arrive. So my advice to a lot of doctors is, please do not remove a single lymph from a body of the man, because you haven't understood the function of the lymph, and you have not understood when you see a cancer, it means it has solidified. Something is wrong between the information carried in the red blood cells when they come from the lung, and the information which has come through the neural system in solidification of the matter. And then you need the lymph support to not allowing this matter to become a cell structure which the body cannot, or becomes too heavy that absorbs all the energy, all the material which comes, all the food from the lymph flow into the organ of the body of the man. If the doctors understand how easily they can reverse every cancer in the body of the man by control of the B cells and T cells in the thymus, no man should die of cancer. And this is what we said, we brought the condition down to 5,000 euro in the Keshe Foundation for cancer. And we said it's only 2 pieces. One piece we work on the lymph, and one piece we work on the thymus. We done this test, there's a piece of the breast of a woman in a hospital in Holland, which has been kept because of this process. So, try to understand how it works now, how it's been imagined to work. And that's where all the doctors go wrong. That's where the world of medicine and structural physicality of the man does not understand it. But at the same time, understand one point. Even if you get the thymus to give and deliver the right strength T cells and the right orientation of B cells, and the emotional part was the separation of itself from the physicality, you still get a cancer. Then you have to look in the psychology of the cancer in the body of the man. This is where the psychosomatic cups, what we produce, comes into operation. Where we support, we change and support the psychology. And this is how some people have cancer and suddenly don't have cancer. The people who have a cancer and don't have a cancer, partially some is due to the strength change of the cobalt in their thymus, because the digestion system is not producing, absorbing the right strength cobalt, strength, plasmatic magnetic field. And majority of it is due to the fields which are released by the thalamus in the brain of the man on the emotional part. I want to die because my son is so bad. He's the worst thing ever happened to me. A father wishes not having a child, so he causes himself a prostate. He might suffer for years with this thought. And then suddenly he finds out, I made a mistake. If it's arrived in the right time before it's too far, oh, I had a cancer today, I don't have a cancer tomorrow. I ate carrots, as I always say, and the cancer disappeared. You have to understand, things don't come and go in the body of the man, just as we say in English, willy-nilly, just it happened. You have to look, understand the work of thymus, and in conjunction with the bone marrow, T cell and B cell. And where there's a disruption between the B cell and T cell, or the emotional part, you have cancer. Tumors are totally different. Tumors are solidification of matter due to whatever environmental condition within the structure of this human body. So now we understand that thymus, why it sits where it sits, and why, as Dr. Elia said by her analysis very correctly a couple of sessions before, is the point of free plasma. Because the cobalt gives the right energy to the amino acid, which is part of your immune system, and it always carries a calcium. An emotional part, because of change of its fields in respect to this amino acid, which is taxi-destinated for the prostate, it changes its orientation. So when the thing arrives at the body, even if it receives the right information, energy from the plasma of the cobalt, it solidifies, uses the calcium, and then the beginning of cancer. Because the emotional part wants nothing to do with that part which has been the cause. So even though you try to sort out the physical part through cobalt, the emotional part changes in a way, the orientation and change, even though it has already left or is in the process of leaving the thymus. And this is very important. This is why we always say, even in other talks with Dr. Elia, we always say what cancer is connected to which side of the body. Left is to do with this, the right to do with the lover or the husband, and the left to do with the parents or the mother. And then you understand why in the upper chest cavity core of the human body, everything is in twos. Because this is too much to be handled, and secondly, body has chosen two halves to be able to control the whole operation. That if one side goes, the other side still can guarantee the life and the existence of the emotional part of the brain, which is thalamus. I hope I managed to teach you something new, and hopefully people understand how we have made the life so simple in the space technology without the need for any medicine. Because God, if medicine was needed, would have built or made trees which aspirin fall off them. And we don't see such a thing. Chemotherapy trees would have been all over Africa for the Northern Europeans to have it, because they can't digest the right energy. This is not a fault of no one. It's just that the human knowledge has been accumulated over years and years, sometimes by men who understood, and sometimes by the ones who did not understood, but due to their influence and the position, forced others to accept their lies. And it's become accepted lies, so it's been believed. And that's why when now we do things, they tell us charlatans, you don't know. Because you didn't understand is not our fault. We understand and we do carry on the same thing. Because we see the results. We understand the process of the creation. Man did not come by aliens on this planet. Man was created out of the air, atmosphere of this planet, and then it became physical matter through the material part of the solid part of the planet. But at the same time, you have to realize that the amino acid does not necessarily become tangible all the time. So the same amino acid, if it's not connected to the matters of the earth on the solid part, it still exists and creates a creation on the upper part of the body which has intelligence, emotions and life. And this is very fundamental. In the space program, in the spaceship program, which we are opening up slowly the doors, you will come to see there are more animals above the surface of the earth without tangibility than there are actually inside the earth. Due to this factor. If you look at the specific lens configuration films, which has been taken by the space programs, Space Lab, and others, you have already seen these creatures, but it's something which moves there and is beyond our intelligence and we ignore it. But in fact, there are creatures which in the neural system, they only create energy at the level which keeps them in a plasmatic, what do you call it, transparent condition. So we start seeing, interacting with what we thought everything should be on Earth and in the sea. Exactly what they said, at such a temperature no animal can exist. And now we dig next to the volcanic eruptions, we see in the deep seas life more than what we see on the planet. Because we gave the restriction of the understanding, because it was our own limitation of intellect to understand, we limited the life, but life has not and does not and do not have limitation in any very part of the universe. So you have to understand the process. You have to understand, when I explained in the space program that very soon we will bring the physicality and other dimensions of life in the universe to man in making the aquarium of the life of the universe, that's what's going to happen. Now we create a gravitational magnetic field very much like thymus to make a matter as a lymph to a solid matter as a nail. Then you can see it. Then you believe it. This is the stupidity of the man. So, in fact, what we're going to do, we create an environment within the lab, which is like a universal fish tank, and we create a conditioned magnetic gravitational field, which is in line with the entities of the life existence, which man has not been used to see. And there is no magic. There is creation and created on every level of the universe. You do not need somebody to tell you, as a religious man, there's going to be or not to be, as a politician to be or not to be. And there's one thing is, they all live a peaceful life. There is a video from NASA which shows these kind of lives very clearly on the upper atmosphere, but people don't see it. As you see it as energy is traveling at the same distance regularly. If you had the eye to see and you could understand the process, you will see who's the mother and she's feeding the children. In one of the films I have explained this. Because she goes, this entity goes and continuously touches the same circles. It's like a mother feeding the little kittens, a cat. And the process is very, very, very obvious. Go back on the pictures NASA has released. Then you open your eyes to the reality of creation. The only thing is, in that condition, thymus, magnetic gravitational field energy, you call it thymus, allows the entity to be transparent to the eye of the man. So, in understanding the operation of the thymus and the lymph, you understand it's these two organs, these two entities in the other organs, but these two entities in the body of the man, which makes man tangible and visible. And nothing else, and nowhere else in your body you have this material. So your presence of your physicality, you owe it to the thymus. And in existence and communication with your emotional and physical part, you owe it to the thymus. And in how it manifests itself, you owe it to your lymph. But they all come from the same process. One comes through the digestion system, and one comes through the emotional part, which is the bone, which controls every structure of the man. Any questions?
So in the line of these thoughts becomes more and more crucial, I guess, to create a sensor which is going to sense the plasma level and power.
You don't need a sensor, you already carry the sensor, you have ignored it.
No, I'm talking, let's say, for cure or something like that. We need
For
to,
what?
for cure and to determine.
Cure is the wrong word. If you take the word of cure and allow it to be processed, then you find the solution to most of the problems of physical body.
Well, not cure, but exactly to be able to interact and figure out what is missing in order to add it, to control the process in order to make the human body better or healthier, I would say.
Yeah, in some ways, yes, but in some ways, in the coming time, in the future, when the knowledge is deeper and we can explain things in more depth, I can explain to you how through your thalamus you can control the operation of the thymus.
Well, I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking interacting with people which we don't know, and we try to help
Those
them.
will learn very, very soon. Ludmil, don't worry, there are more strangest things than you and me in this universe.
Oh, I know one. It's my wife.
It's the one which gives you the sugar.
Yeah, that's the sweet life.
Any other questions? I think we can go home now.
Okay, I see there is a question in the chat, which is, would it now be possible for humans to make their bone marrow take over the function of the thymus, maybe through increased physical activity, or is this a process that can only happen through evolution?
I didn't get the question.
Okay, I'll try to read it again. Would it now be possible for humans to make their bone marrow take over the function of the thymus, maybe through increased physical activity or something? Or is this a process that can only happen through evolution?
It happens through evolution. It needs time. And it won't happen with all the humans at the same time. Because there are a lot of factors involved. First of all, one of the factors of it is if the Earth does not get destroyed by what we call the solar system through the twinity star, what happens normally, as you get attracted by the gravitational field of the star, and you get sucked into it over billions and millions of years, you'll find that the body will receive enough radiation in the bone structure that does not need cobalt to be as a supplier of the feed. One of the reasons, one of the signs that Earth is approaching the sun as is normal, because it's a stronger gravitation, we are just a speck of dust, we're getting pulled in by the gravity of it, is the change in thymus. Is showing that there is no need for radiation-based centers. Because as we approach the sun closer, we receive stronger fields which then interact with our bone marrow, and they create a stronger fields, bone marrow. So what the brain has to do is just to adjust the nano layers in the structure of the bone in what can go through where. It's like what you make the nano layers of a copper or what do you call it, aluminum. The gap, the nano layering gap decides what goes through as a bone marrow in what size, and that size dictates the strength, not the size, because size of the limbs is all the same. The bone marrow, the structure of the bone, what they call the honeycomb, as you've seen it, we've shown it before. These are all nanomaterials. They carry each one certain strength that allows certain nanomaterials as lymph to pass through as a plasma. So all the body needs to do is to change the structure of the nano layer in the upper part of the size of the body of the man, but in the central bone and the absorption of the bone lymph, it can absorb what it likes. And we see that change is happening and change is coming. But it's just that now the bone receives more radiation direct, so there is no need for the lymph, especially in the older age. There are reasons for it. Then the nano layers within the inner structure of the bone are changing in fields. And so man is gradually, over time, millions of years, will have no need for thymus. It's an unnecessary thing because of the closeness to the radiation, which we are getting closer and closer to the sun. Any other question?
So does that mean, sorry, Rick, does that mean that once we get to a certain point, with the Twinity star, or the solar system, the Twinity solar system, that the man should be at a certain level due to the interaction of those two fields in the greater plasma inside our bones system? Does that mean
we have to be far out of the zone? We have to be far out of the zone of the clash of the, what I call two Titanics. When they crash, there is it's like a splashing. You have to be far enough not to be disturbed by it.
No, what I'm saying is that when they come in, as they're getting closer, we'll be receiving stronger fields ourselves as humans on this planet. And
yes,
at a certain
it does
point,
happen.
At a certain point, does it not go to a different level, cross a boundary, cross a threshold?
Yes, in so many ways, yes, but in so many ways, we hear a lot of things about dinosaurs, how they died, such huge animals. And then if you look at it, look at the structure of the neutron splitting into smaller entities. As the field comes, a division comes because it cannot sustain. That division happens in approach of the second sun. It creates a field that the division can create, need a life for a smaller size, but more active or maybe more energetic life. Or what you call it, intelligence, more intelligent to be. There's a lot of factors when the two stars come together, but it happens so rapid that, as I say, I was explaining to a child very recently, the position with the approach of the second star is like, is no different than when you empty, let's say, a bunch of beans which have to go through the funnel, the nozzle of the funnel. At the top end is very big, so you have plenty of room. But now, as we're getting to the center of the galaxy, so we get the tighter and tighter. There is no choice but this clash, and this clash will bring its own. There is no destruction. It's just change of gravitational magnetic field in different positions. So life as fields will never end. It's just mutation to what will come at the end of it after what we call billions of years. So it does change,
But
but the
man should
changes
be
will
ready,
come
right?
mainly by the compression. Pardon?
Man should be at a certain point. If this is a natural process, then it's already built into the system, quote unquote. That if there is life on those planets, and there's always is, that they are ready for that when that happens, or they're at a certain point when that happens. I can see that there will be different circumstances or different environments in the universe that might make that process slower and then not be able to meet its full fruition before that actually happens. There's probably cases like that too then.
You know, um, you feel you're going to see, for example, your mother is going to turn up for Christmas, but you haven't spoken to her for a year. Or you feel somebody's going to come you haven't seen, or you feel something is going to happen, and your feel turns out to be correct. Because it's not you physically you feel, but you detect the feeling of the others and the emotion of the other entities that to you explains, translate that movement of fields to coming of somebody or something happen into what you understand. The emotional part of the man, a lot of men who are close enough, clean with their life, are feeling the coming and approach of the second star anyway. A lot of it call it the end. It's not the end, it's the beginning of a new in a different form. So a lot of men, a lot of even animals are aware of this to come because the field is changing. It's like when you know it's winter, you go deeper, you go higher. Animals move from one planet to another or one part of the planet to another. A lot of men with correct behavior, which is not diluted in their behavior, know and feel the approach. It's like becoming claustrophobic. It's just when you go into a lift and you cannot stand. Or you feel the walls are coming in, but you're correct because you are in the clamp. So you feel it. And that feeling changes the habit of the man finding a solution before it's closed. But unfortunately this time, there is a feel, there is enough guidance to take man out of this position for those who deserve to be out. It's not by choice of physicality, it's by choice of soul. Animals shall be left behind because they're still too busy fighting. While the bird flies, is what's going on, never lands in the place. This is what a lot of people, a lot of entities on this planet are getting ready because we know it's imminent. It's not a matter of when and how, it's imminent and it's very, very close. So you feel the wind, you know there's a storm coming. And there are those who are outside are waiting to help, but not help everybody to start the same mayor. It's what we call when the boat sinks, who do you save first? Children, which are innocent and clean and pure. This time this boat is sinking. The ones with clean soul will be picked up. The gamblers and drunkards are in the casino still playing in the bottom level. Next question.
Here's a question from Sandor. He says, is it recommendable for a person who has been recently operated for cancer to take B vitamin supplements like B complex?
Oh, No.
No lymph was removed, he
Oh,
says.
no, if the thing is, you have to understand, if you have a cancer and the cancer has a spread or exists, it means it's been accepted by the body. So the thymus is coating and creating a field strength which is equal to it for feeding it, controlling it, and structuring it. So you increase the field on the B12, what are you going to do? You increase the growth in most of the cases. B12 is not a solution to cancers. It can be sometimes, but not in reality. Because the create you for you to become matter, to become solid. Look at one of the pictures in the structure in book number, I think 1 or 3. How you and what the matter sits. If you increase through B cells the orientation of the cancer cell, and then the T cells have to feed it, it will grow very rapidly. Very, very rapidly. You have to control the cobalt, which is already within the structure. It needs a certain process, and then on that way you most probably see there was a cancer today, and in 6 months time there is no cancer. I ate carrot juice and it happened. It's the color of the carrot which changes the cancer, and everybody goes buys carrots. But nobody gets it, but they don't understand that in the case of when you see these changes, is to do mainly with the emotional magnetic fields, which has changed the orientation part of the thymus in respect to that cell in its T cells. Don't forget, goes back to one thing. Everything comes to creation of the condition. You create the condition, then it happens. You get stressed, you get yourself angry with your mother, you create a beautiful condition. Just look, where is your thymus? Just look where the mother gave birth to you, and then, voila, you carry a calcium, and that's your breast. There is something for a lot of men. Doctors don't tell you because it's not because you don't see it. A lot of men get breast cancers. Don't worry, Armin. Men are, in so many ways, there are more, some races more cancer in breast of the men than women. Some races of human races have breast cancer of the men, which is more prevalent. Dr. Elias shakes her head. I'll show her the statistic and data. The breast cancer in men happens in specific ways in specific races. Any other question? The problem is with the breast cancer with a man, a lot of it shows itself as a lung cancer. That's why the doctors they get confused between the two.
So it's more internal than external, like the woman.
No, because it sits within the tissue. Men don't have such a big breast like women do, so we are very close, the skin to the body. So it grows in through and through the lung, and they usually say you receive the secondary cancer, or the cancer has a spread to the bone from the lung or whatever, But in fact, the root of it, origin of it, sits within the breast. In the nations where there is a lot of injustices between the mother and the son, it comes through culture, behavior, a lot of it. And it's always to do with the right side or the left side, depends on what it is and how it is. Next question.
There's a question on the live stream. Anthro says, is hemp such a good medicine because it mostly makes you feel happy, which then helps you to cure yourself? Or is there more about it?
I know nothing about hemp.
Okay.
Is this the one you make beer with? Yeah, hemp.
Well, some people
Hemp.
do actually. They do make a hemp beer and just about everything else out of hemp.
Speak about past. I'll give you a solution. Speak about matter is very difficult.
You would have to ask about
You see the
hemp, perhaps. Go ahead, sorry.
I said there's a problem. We have a hat on the corner of the entrance, and when you pass that hat going out, you become in the world of matter, and hardly past that point, I stay in the world of plasma. So it's very hard for me to understand that. He wants an umbrella, no problem. It's like somebody asked me, is smoking weed is good for my cancer? I said, I don't know, it depends how you feel. If it makes you high, you forget about it, must be good. Next question.
I think that kind of answered the last question, actually. So, yeah, I don't see any more questions immediately in the chats here. And how are we doing for time? We're up to...
We are, I don't know, what are we at 4 o'clock?
It's an hour and
past 4
minutes, and we had a half hour that we were late getting going, so...
Live stream's been going for an hour and 40 minutes.
Pardon?
The live stream has been going for an hour and 40 minutes, so...
Right, and we were late getting going, so maybe we should end this one soon here, or what do you think?
Yes, maybe we don't have to do it 2 hours just to be there. Sometimes it's good to do it a little bit less. Tonight we are all students, so we have to get ready. A professor is coming to teach us about, what was it, psychology and what? Yeah, he's coming no, tonight at 7:30 he's coming. So we have to go and get washed and get ready and smart up with the professor.
Before you go,
yeah.
I was wondering if there's anything else that Dan Winter would like to add to the conversation before we wrap it up here. I know he's been tuning in here and perhaps... No?
You're breaking up, and we are okay. Thank you very much. I think we can finish it a little bit early at 4 o'clock.
Okay, that sounds...
And thank you very much. I'd like to thank Dr. Elia and Rick and the rest of the whole football team for what has been done and what has been achieved today and in other programs. We meet on Monday with the Chinese teaching knowledge seekers at 12 o'clock Central European time. By the way, there is a possibility, not a possibility, it's going to happen very soon, but we're going to close this site to public. As of next week or two, we will have a Keshe Foundation live stream for world, or what we call the world laboratories, which means the scientists who are actually in the lab and doing different kind of developments will have access to this. We got to set it up. That is exclusive. It's not for theoretical. It's people who are actually building in a commercial level reactors and systems for marketing and developing. And we come into agreement with a few like this around the world at the moment. There are two has been agreed. Hopefully we can bring it through that literally they come into our labs and we go in their labs and we share knowledge and how we do things and how they do things in commercializing the technology very rapid way in different nations and nationalities. So what we call the conventional, what do you call it? The applications of the technology SSI program is one of the new additions, but it'll be kept totally that nobody can come in except the people who have access through the labs. Because this is, as I said, we have entered into application and development of the technology, and we have agreed with 2 organizations, hopefully 2 more will join us very soon, that will do live, means we open our screens 24 hours a day to their labs. They can see what we do, and we have the same privilege to have that, and this has already happened in the last week, twice. And now we have to put a structure that I have received agreement from a 3rd organization yesterday. So we'll have additional live stream, but this is not for theoretical. These are literally company organizations who are in research and in development and commercialization on an equal share basis. So that's the latest news we have for you. It's been very nice to reach this point. That it means all the systems we develop, they develop in energy, in medicine or whatever, is shared live between us. And for example, as you know, Skype will be listened and the live will be listened by the governments. But the knowledge will be shared through the scientific or commercial side of the application of the technology.
That sounds quite interesting. Is there any other?
It's not for amateurs, it's not for theoretical. It's literally built, there are people who already built system which is nothing to do with our technology, but now we're merging the 2 sides together for production of energy or production of absorption of materials or new materials. And we started this week with 2 sessions, and now I got agreement through Japan. They are prepared to consider that they open their labs for us on equal basis. Then we have 2 more to come in. Hopefully I can get approval by the scientists in Tehran. If you can do that, then we open a beautiful lab organization around the world that scientists work together. And then we only need an organization or a company who's brave enough in America to open their labs to us, like the rest we learn together. So we have agreements. We have come to agreement with a company in China. We have come to agreement with a company in Japan. Keshe Foundation lab is going to open to them. We already discussed it here before. We have 2 more to come in, and then hopefully laboratories share knowledge immediately together, what they develop and what they're looking, what their problems are. This has risen because the other labs who were trying to do our work, they could not do it to commercialize it. So the openness has become the mother of needs. And thank you to the people, one of the organizations, in what they have done and what they've put forward in us to learn something from them in this chapter of the development. So you will start seeing commercial units, not just by foundation, but part of the hybrid between the old and the new physics, applying the plasma technology into the present knowledge bridge gap for the time being. Thank you very much indeed for all your work.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
We speak hopefully Monday with the Chinese SSI group, knowledge seekers.
And that was at 12 o'clock
Thank you.
CET time.
It's Central European time. Yeah, I think it's about 6 or 7 o'clock China time. James should know what's happening, or Lisa. They are supposed to organize it with you.
Yeah, we're in touch.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you indeed. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's the end of the 9th Keshe Health Teaching Workshop.